child, y'all don't play. You see what I got to deal with? Homeboy say, if I could ask you 15 questions, I could see if you say 1 or 2, 3, 15. Let's go. Okay, first of all, let me give this other disclaimer. There's a lot of noise in the back because I live in the city in DC, and when they decide that they want to do road work, they don't care that I have to record a YouTube video. So, you guys, please bear with me today. Please, just bear with me. Let's get into it. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rogan, and this is This Bahamian Gyal, your ultimate guide to the Bahamas and Washington, D.C. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I'm so happy that you came. And if this is not your first time, you guys know what it is. Welcome back home. So let me tell you guys how I decided and why I decided to do this video. So several months ago, I did a video on what to know before moving to the Bahamas, which is probably my most popular video on YouTube to date. And I got throngs of questions about working in the Bahamas. So I did a subsequent video on how to get a job in the Bahamas. And that led to people asking me a lot of questions about getting work permits, permanent residency. How do I move to the Bahamas? How do I, it was just like a lot of questions. And I've always been very open to answering questions, but I was not prepared for the volume of questions I was getting as a result of those videos. People were hitting me up in my DMs. People were hitting me up in the comment section on YouTube. I got emails, which I always respect emails more because it takes more effort to write an email. So I think I paid a little bit more attention to those ones. But I got some folks who they just would not stop asking the questions. Like I had one guy say, "Can I ask you 15 questions?" And I was like, "No, you can't ask me 15 questions. I could answer 1 or 2, maybe 3. But 15? Nah, that's when you have to do your own research. Sorry, or run me my money." So anyway, this week I decided, after getting another question this week, I might as well just go ahead, do the damn research, and give you guys the answers as much as I can. As much as I can, because if I say I'm going to be the ultimate guide to the Bahamas and DC, then I guess it comes with the territory. So with that being said, let go. So the reason why folks want to know about work permits is because you cannot move to the Bahamas and say you're going to get a job without a work permit. And just like you can't move to Canada and just start working, you can't just move to the United States and just start working, or move to Jamaica and just start working. You have to have a work permit, and those are required for all non-Bahamians who are coming into the country. The thing about work permits is you can't just on your own be in Zimbabwe and decide, I want to work in the Bahamas, so I'm just going to go and apply for a work permit, because it just doesn't work that way. You have to have an employer extend an invitation to you to work in the Bahamas in order for you to begin the process. And typically companies will initiate the process on your behalf. Some require that you do make a commitment to paying the work permit fee. And before we get into short-term and long-term, I'm just talking about regular work permits, like if you're going to be there for a year or 2 years or 3 years. And those work permits, basically, they start from $350 and they can go all the way up to $10,000. It really just depends on your expertise. It depends on what kind of job you're coming in to do in the country. So it ain't cheap. And on top of the work permit, you'll be required to put up a bond, because if for some reason you overstay your work permit or you create some problem in the country, you're convicted of some crime and they need to repatriate you and your family, the government doesn't want to incur that cost. So you put up a bond, or your employer puts up a bond, and that money will allow the government to repatriate you and your family. If you have a medical expense, they'll take it from the bond. Whatever needs to come up, they will take it out of that bond. So just keep that in mind in addition to the work permit fees. I got a lot of questions from my brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa, many countries, and they were saying, listen, I want to come to the Bahamas and work as a taxi driver, or I just want a job, a regular job in the hotel, cleaning rooms or doing janitor work. How do I get a work permit for that? Well, you don't. You absolutely don't, because, and I'm not saying that it has not happened, but in the Bahamas, how do I say this? We have a really strict nationalistic policy. It's called like a Bahamianization policy, where a foreigner isn't allowed to take a job, especially a low wage earning job or a job that doesn't require higher education. A foreigner can't just come in there and say, I'm going to take that job, because they keep those types of jobs for Bahamians. And even with work permits, right? You don't just have a work permit forever and ever. There has to be a Bahamian who is understudying you, because eventually that job needs to be passed on to a Bahamian. And before you as a foreigner are even allowed to get the job, the company that is applying for the work permit or wants to apply for the work permit has to show that there are no reasonably or suitably qualified Bahamians who are available for that job. So you can't just go and go to they can't just go to the Department of Immigration and say, listen, I want an offshore banker. They're going to say, and there are no Bahamians here who are available to do that job. So what a lot of these companies do, and it's a very known practice, it's very sneaky and I hate it. They'll place an ad in the paper, which they're required to do, and they will put all sorts of requirements that really aren't necessary. And I've been told this by a lot of offshore bankers, a lot of things that are not necessary, but they add these things in the list of requirements because they want to exclude Bahamians from getting the job. So for example, let's just say you're looking for an offshore banker. You might say, I need an offshore banker who speaks Spanish. Oh, okay, well, a lot of Bahamians speak Spanish. You know, a lot of Bahamians who've gone away to school, or they're married to somebody who speaks Spanish, they may be well qualified, they might be bilingual. So what they'll say is, you might have too many Bahamians who have that qualification. So we need you to have all these series of qualifications. We need you to know Spanish and French. Oh, there's a Bahamian who knows how to speak Spanish and French. So now it's like, okay, so now we need to add something else. So it's like, okay, we need this series of documents, series of education. We need them to speak Spanish, French, and Russian. Oh, okay, well, I have everything else, but, I don't know how to speak Russian. So, aha! Let me go and place my ad in the paper, and they go to immigration and say, we just don't have anybody who's reasonably qualified, a Bahamian that is, to do the job. It's so unfair. And a lot of times, the people who they end up hiring, they don't even need to know no damn Russian. They don't need to know no Russian. For those of you who are inquiring about short-term work permits, you can certainly, again, your employer will have to apply for it, but you can get it up to, I believe it's up to 90 days. So up to 90 days, you can apply for a work permit that will allow you to work legally in the country for up to 90 days. Those are for the short-term work permits, and then the long-term work permits are over 90 days. The fee for both of those is $100. I'm not going to run down the entire list of documents that you need to have because it's just too tedious, and besides, you guys, I'm putting it in the video, so what you can do is just pause the video and then you'll see everything. And I'm also going to put throughout the video the Department of Immigration's email address and maybe a phone number so you guys can reach out to them if you need more details. But the first step really will be to find a job. And if you haven't watched my video on how to get a job in the Bahamas, please do click on the link above to watch that video, because it'll show you that there are lots of local companies in the Bahamas who have international parent companies, and they're always looking for people. And if you're somebody from in Canada, Europe, the Caribbean, you're looking for a job, I would suggest you go on these different boards and apply, because if they really feel like if they're advertising certain positions, it's probably because they cannot find the expertise locally in the Bahamas. So by going on these boards, you can apply, and then the employer, if they decide that they like you, they like your qualifications, and you're suited for the job, then they will begin the process of getting you your work permit. There are some people who will just say, I want a work permit, but they're not really looking to work in the Bahamas. They just want to sort of come into the country and spend some time and see if this is a place that, if it's a place that they'd be interested in living and working in the long term. If that's the case, then there are temporary annual residence permits that you can get. And many times they're available to individuals who are seeking a higher education in the Bahamas. So there's a University of the Bahamas, and there's other higher learning institutions that you might want to attend. You can definitely go to school and pay a $25 fee for the year and be in the Bahamas. And that way you can get to learn the culture and see the place and, live in the tropical environment and see if that's someplace that you want to live and work in the long term. But there's definitely that temporary annual residence permit that's available to you if you are attending a higher learning education facility. I got a lot of questions about, I got a proposal for a potential marriage proposal so that a guy could move to the Bahamas and live and work. He wanted to know if he could pay me. Hey, run me my money, eh? No, but seriously, no, I'm not interested. And I know a lot of Bahamians who ain't interested in that either. And I wouldn't even really suggest that as a method. I mean, it's one thing if you fall in love with somebody and then they happen to be from the Bahamas, and or you go to the Bahamas, to visit, and you fall in love with the place and you meet someone, you have a connection, fine. But I think things like that always kind of backfire. Besides, not all Bahamians are sweet, Let me tell you, not all Bahamians sweet. They say, yeah, babes, come, let me marry you. Take your money and then call immigration on you. Then you get repatriated. You can't do nothing, and your money gone. Child, please, don't do it. Bahamians slick, See, you don't know no Bahamians. This ain't all Bahamians, right? But you got some Bahamians who'll take your money, then they call immigration on you. This man come in here, he duped me. Say he wanted me for me. She and the money. So don't do it. I also got a lot of questions from people saying, listen, can I just come into the country as a visitor and then start working? Papa, on this channel, I will never advise you to do something illegal. I just will not, because I used to work as a reporter. I've seen so many people. Let me tell you. First of all, let me tell you all something. You don't want to get locked up in no Bahamian jail. Don't think you look like Paradise Island. Don't think you're going to know Atlantis. Think slop buckets and plenty heat and plenty man around you making noise in your head. Do not go to jail in the Bahamas. So no, I will not advise you to come into the country on a visitor's visa and work, because you just, especially now, because things are so bad, because COVID basically ravaged the economy. And so Bahamians hustling hard because they want jobs, and they're not going to take too kindly to somebody coming in and getting a job. I mean, no, Papa, they're going to report you. So you don't do it. I would not advise you. There are people who would say, yeah, you could work under the table, you get a couple of dollars. I would not advise it, because you know what? I care about you, and I do not want you to go to jail in the Bahamas. I don't want you to go to jail, period. But let me tell you something. You really don't want to go to jail in the Bahamas. That's what I got to say. So anyway, back to the work permits. It's up to the employer to apply for the work permit on your behalf. You don't apply for the work permit. The employer does. And the work permits are issued for a period of a year. You'll definitely get it. If you get it initially, you get it for a year. You may get it extended to 2 years, maybe 3 years. But let me be real with you. It gets increasingly tougher to get it, year after year. Some people have no issues because, their expertise is such that there really is nobody else. And, the country really needs this person's expertise. So, they'll get it, right? But past 5 years, it's kind of hard to get your work permit renewed. And they're renewed every year, like I said, or if I didn't say it, they're renewed every year. Because at some point they're going to say, well, where's the Bahamian that's being, that was supposed to be understudying this individual so that they could assume this job? Why do they keep getting the permit year after year after year? There are always exceptions to rules. Like I said, if people have expertise that the country or the company needs, they'll get it. And then of course people have political affiliations or they have connections and, they get it. But if you're just a regular Joe Blow, it's really, really tough. So just keep that in mind. When seeking that out. And I said earlier, don't come into the country as a visitor expecting to just get a work permit or seeking to work under the table. That's not a good thing. And I would certainly not advise that. But also, if your work permit, if you find an employer who is going to apply for a job for you or apply for a work permit for you, don't come into the country and wait it out for them to get their approval, because that could backfire on you as well and it could not be approved. I would definitely suggest that you stay in your home country and then your employer will let you know, okay, now you can come in. And once you have that work permit, you're good to go. I believe once you apply for a work permit, it takes a few weeks to get a response, yay or nay, or at least acknowledge that they actually got it. You'll usually get a response in like 3 to 4 weeks. I know some people have said that they get a response within a week. That's great, but I would still say, budget for a month to get some sort of response. And they've been really working hard to expedite the process, because the Bahamas has traditionally been caught up in a lot of red tape, and it's frustrated a lot of expatriates because it just takes too long to get things done. And they've been criticized so many times that now that they're speeding along the process. So that works well for you. But the process is extremely simple, guys. And like I said, I want you to just check out like all the things that you need. You need to provide certain documents and show that you have good bill of health, that you're not a criminal coming into the country, you have a clean character reference certificate, or a clean police record. If you don't, I don't know that they're going to approve it. I don't know one scenario where they've approved it if somebody had a criminal record. So you have to have these things intact. And again, I'll put everything inside the video. Be sure to pause it if you need further information. So, it's not impossible to get a work permit in the Bahamas, but you cannot do it on your own. You need your employer to take care of that. Your employer has to apply on your behalf. And like I said, they usually incur the fees, or they might pass some of the fees on to you. And of course, the renewal fees, again, some companies pay it in its entirety, and some say, I'm going to pay the bulk of it, but you as an employee have to also pay something. And so go to my video on how to get a job in the Bahamas, and check out those different job boards and apply from there. Once you have the qualifications that they're looking for, if trust me, they have to advertise locally. So if they can't find someone locally, they go abroad. And so if they're gone abroad, then they are willing to pay for the work permit. And let me also say that there are, let me say, I don't know of late, but in the past there have been instances where many instances where Bahamians have been able to hire Filipino housekeepers, Haitian housekeepers, Jamaican housekeepers, Thai housekeepers. I mean, like jobs what I said earlier that are reserved for Bahamians, and a lot of them got it because there were Bahamians at the time who were not willing to do those jobs. So it wasn't just about them not being available to do those jobs. So I think I need to add that in there as well, because I know many people who have hired non-Bahamian housekeepers or nannies, to take care of their kids, to take care of the houses. That's happened before. I don't know of late if it's happening in droves, but a lot of Bahamians, like I said, did not want to do those jobs. And so the individuals were definitely placing ads locally and saying, hey, this is what I need. But they just didn't want to do those jobs. Perhaps things have changed. And in those instances, when they absolutely could not find a local housekeeper, Immigration Department did approve the work permit for the maids or for the housekeepers or whatever. So I think it's important that I put that in there too, because it's not impossible. There are lots of Bahamians who, especially in the last 5-10 years, I've seen like an abundance of like Filipino housekeepers in the Bahamas, like a lot. So I shouldn't have said it's impossible, because it has happened, but it's really hard, especially now in a COVID-19 environment where people are scratching and surviving. So just keep that in mind. Anyway, guys, like I said at the beginning, I am not an immigration expert, but I am somebody who loves to read. I'm somebody who likes to research things. And so all of my resources came from the Department of Immigration, the Bahamas Department of Immigration. And I would advise individuals, because again, this is another thing that is very fluid. Policies can change. A lawmaker can decide to go to the House of Parliament and make some change today and say no work permits for the next whatever, you know what I mean? So just make sure to tune into like the Department of Immigration just to see if they're making any changes. And again, for those who want to work in the Bahamas legally, there are avenues, and the avenue I would definitely suggest is to definitely stay tuned to those job boards and apply because even if it's as an intern, like Atlantis, the Bahamas, you know, a lot of these hotels, a lot of these global brands, they have needs for people or interns, and they do paid internships. So all hope is not lost. But I'm glad that you guys asked the question. At first I was starting to get really frustrated because, like I said, it was 1,000 questions coming my way, but I'm happy in the end that you did ask the question because it was a learning experience for me. And I'm happy to share the information with you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Do not forget to follow me on my blog, www.thisbahamiangyal.com. I love my blog. Y'all need to check out my blog. I know what y'all doing. Y'all better go to my blog. Yeah, stop playing. And of course, follow me on Instagram at thisbahamiangyal and on Facebook at thisbahamiangyal. That's where a lot of y'all been hitting me up on Facebook asking me these questions. But I thank you guys. And again, I'm going to probably put a little disclaimer to say this is all the information I have. All the resources will be linked down below. You're going to go there and ask these people who are in authority the questions that you have. If I see somebody hit me up and say, I want to work as a taxi driver, how do I get a work permit? I'm going to say, you didn't watch my video. Because I didn't tell you now, you can't get it. Okay? So I'm not going to answer that question. I promise. But I'll see you guys next Wednesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time right here. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. Please go and subscribe to my channel. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed. You guys just are amazing. You rock. And I really appreciate your love. And I appreciate your support. And of course, share this video with individuals who are interested in moving to the Bahamas. And they're like, can I get it? Can I get it? I answer the questions. If you have a question that I have not addressed here, please drop them down below in the comments section. But I love you guys for watching. Thank you so much. And I'll see you again next week, Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Mwah! Bye. 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 Scratching and surviving.